Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Raw Recap here on Pro Wrestling Sheet. I'm your host, John Roca, excited to talk about this Raw.
I was going to say, are you excited to talk about it?
In some ways, and then not in most ways.
You got a lot to kick it, John Roca.
I got this energy. Ryan Satin, you're back here. How was your weekend? We survived Avengers Endgame. We survived Game of Thrones. It's an exhausting weekend.
The Starks had a rough weekend this weekend.
In both franchises.
Yeah, and all around. The Starks had to deal with some shit this weekend. I loved, Endgame was so good. I'm sure people don't want to be
no spoilers.
I'm sure there's one person watching who hasn't seen one of the two, so I won't spoil them, but both epic battles. And I was back. I do still work on Monday when I'm not here in the office.
Yeah.
It's not, my weekend did end yesterday. I just stayed home because it's easier because of Raw and stuff. But oh boy, this Raw was a chore to get through.
Yeah, I was surprised at how, after the momentum Raw had been building since a little bit before WrestleMania and then after WrestleMania, I was really surprised to see it fall so flat. And not just from the booking, some of the performers, for the first time ever, I have to say this, some of the performers last night felt a little like they weren't 100% on their game in the ring and outside of the ring, and that kind of bothered me overall. And I wonder if this, you posted something on Wrestling Sheet, Ryan, about people leaving the company. I've been saying this, and I know you counter back going, well, everyone wants to get here. Yeah, but money's not always what it's about. It's about how, are you happy here? And you're starting to see people, when they see that AEW, they're like, well, there's other places I can go. And I wonder if that's starting to creep into the wrestlers as well.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. There's definitely unhappiness amongst people in the backstage. I know that for sure. There's lots of people who are unhappy. It's definitely possible. I think that I do think that this episode was a clear indication that WrestleMania season's over.
Yeah.
It was like,
we're off the highway.
We're off the highway. We have taken a weird detour. Because I felt like it was like, okay, you guys had like 2 months or whatever of awesome. I shouldn't say awesome, but there are lots of hit or miss things.
Yeah.
But of good television, good storylines overall. And now it's back to usual.
Yeah, back to usual. And
felt just real lazy all around.
Yeah, that's what it felt.
Yeah,
absolutely lazy, and there was a feeling of malaise through the whole thing. It starts off they're at the Rupp Arena there in Kentucky, historic Rupp Arena there in Kentucky, doing this Raw. Alexa Bliss comes out, announces the 4 people who are going to be involved in the Money in the Bank match. It's Baron Corbin, it's Drew McIntyre, it's Braun Strowman, and little old Ricochet, who loves ladder matches or Money in the Bank matches. Like, he's great in these big matches. So this is a nice combo. They all have a back and forth. They kind of bully Ricochet a little bit all around. Then Strowman gets involved. That gets even more hairy. We see some cracks between Corbin and McIntyre, and then randomly a tag team match is announced. They go at it, and in the end, McIntyre turns on Corbin and sets him up to get power slammed by Strowman, and then the splash by Ricochet. Overall, did you like this as an opening segment, or was this kind of
I felt like, all these people should be in the match, so yes. I think the choices makes even Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin is one of the top heels on the show. It makes sense to have him in the match. Former Money in the Bank winner.
Yep.
So you got 2 former Money in the Bank winners. You got Drew McIntyre, who's been a focal point of the show. And you got Ricochet, who's the young upstart who's going to do something crazy off a ladder. So I'm into all that. It makes perfect sense. What did you... You said like the bullying Ricochet thing.
Yeah.
There was that one line where Ricochet said, I didn't come here to talk. And Drew McIntyre said, well, shut up then.
Yeah.
That cracked me up. But did you feel like was this a disservice to Ricochet, him being, in the middle of 3 hugely tall dudes, or do you feel like it made him stand out a little bit because he was so different than everyone else in the ring?
I think my feeling as I was watching was he was getting left behind because he was getting bullied all around the situation. And to be honest with you, these guys have been on the main roster for a while, having their battles with each other and not with each other. And Ricochet is still kind of new to the Raw brand now that he's officially on the roster there. But he got a little bit left behind. His promo work needs a little help, and that's always been the thing with Ricochet. His promo work isn't to the top level. Velveteen Dream owned him in pretty much every promo that they did back and forth. What what Ricochet got was that one move over the top rope, which was fantastic. But promo-wise, he gets owned. So I think this is the way they counter this is they give him a hell of a match in this Money in the Bank match. Make it come real close to him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he takes it. Everyone thinks McIntyre is going to do this thing. Ricochet would be an incredible winner to come out of this whole thing, especially now that we see that there's cracks between Corbin and McIntyre, where that could lead to, who knows. But certainly you could see Ricochet scampering up that ladder or jumping off the top rope onto the ladder and then climbing up and grabbing it. That'd be a great way to counter this.
I agree with you. It's interesting because I agree with your assessment of the bullying factor. However, during the match itself, or sorry, not during the match, even in the segment, the fans were chanting for Ricochet.
They were. He's over with the fans.
So that was an interesting thing to me because I felt the same way watching it as just like the producer in my head of like watching it critic-wise. But the fans were behind him, so maybe it's not as bad as it seems.
Probably not.
To the viewer maybe or whoever, the critic or whatever. But I do like that Ricochet is getting an opportunity. I feel like Aleister Black is going to be on the SmackDown side of things, so we can finally get the implosion of their tag team. I'm assuming Lars Sullivan will probably be in the match just based on the way he's been booked.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I don't know who else, but I'm assuming Lars Sullivan, and I think Lars Sullivan's going to take it. To me, Lars Sullivan, this is kind of like, this could be his moment of just like the first match we see him in on the main roster in the Money in the Bank. He had a great ladder match before. He's been involved in one. So putting him in this match, having him win, and continuing to do his thing and not knowing if one of those times it's going to be against the WWE champion. I feel like that's a good kind of sell on this year's Money in the Bank.
Well, you talked about it on Pro Wrestling Sheet. He wants to be champion. He said it, and you're like, you predicted this could happen.
Well, he's the one who said it. He predicted 18 months,
18 months, and you said, I can see this happen.
I could.
So it's certainly possible for Lars. I mean, and maybe that's a conversation for tomorrow, but do you like the Alexa Bliss coming out? Like, what are we doing with her, man?
That's my problem it's like,
is she the GM or not?
She's not the GM.
Right, but announcing matches?
And it's like, well, you can't have, in my opinion, you shouldn't have Miz TV and a Moment of Bliss.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Two A Moment of Bliss segments in the same show. That's 3 talk show things that you've done on one show. Yeah. That's a bit much.
I agree.
I'm sorry. Like, I know that you need different excuses for interview segments, but what is Alexa Bliss right now? You know, and she keeps announcing herself in the matches. Like, it was so similar to when she was like, I'm going to announce the WrestleMania host. It's me.
Right.
It was telegraphed a mile away that she was going to be the other one in the Money in the Bank match. I do fear that maybe she's going to win it again.
Okay.
Because didn't she win it last year and then cash in right away?
Yeah, on Nia that night. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see them giving her a longer one with it this time and having her, you know, have it on the set with her and holding it up. I guess we're not at the women's one yet. We're at the men's one. Sorry.
But I just wanted to see what you thought about this, because bringing her out, all she did was introduce these people, and then they went at it. They didn't even, like, she became an afterthought after that and left the ring, right? So,
well, that's the whole thing in all these things, that she's kind of an afterthought in all these Moment of Bliss segments.
Right.
And exactly like you said, what's the point? Yeah. I don't really get it either. I don't feel like they're compelling enough. At least Miz TV usually advances storylines. Yeah. I don't ever feel like Moment of Bliss does that.
No. And I hear the fans probably thinking, oh, you guys complained that Triple H came out last week. What's his point of being there? Blah, blah, blah. So why have Alexa? And that's the point. The point is you need a GM. You need a GM.
It's supposed to be
Raw works with a GM.
It's supposed to be the McMahons, but then they just show up willy-nilly too.
Yeah, randomly.
And it was like,
and play heel face.
And it was like it was like supposed to be a surprise when Shane showed up.
Right.
And I'm like, well, he's supposed to be there. You guys said the McMahons were always going to be there. And you haven't barely been there.
On both brands,
So that has been my problem. That is, I agree with you that there needs to be some sort of like, as much as people hate it, I do think that the authority figure helps. It doesn't even have to be a heel.
No.
I'm okay with it not being a heel. I do think it helps when there's an authority figure, like William Regal on NXT.
Oh, he's
not always there.
He was great.
But when he's there, it's for a reason, and it gets over that authority needed to be, authoritative action needed to take place.
I think the two colossal mistakes they made was removing Alexa from being in charge of the women's stuff and then removing Paige from being the GM at
Absolutely.
SmackDown. Both those women should be the GMs of their respective brands right now. If you could move Paige back into that moment and move Alexa, because they know what to do with the time that they have, and I think they could really benefit from that situation. Then you don't have to waste time with Moment of Bliss or having Paige manage Asuka and Kairi Sane. I know why you're doing that because, on the mic and everything like that, but, they're just being wasted here. You're wasting opportunities for good storytelling, and the McMahons don't have to necessarily be involved and can only come in certain moments down the line.
I also feel like there's such a small fraction of people who are actually enjoying these segments.
Yes, agreed. Thoroughly agreed.
And that's when you're trying to put on a 3-hour show that entertains people, you shouldn't put on segments that only entertain a small fraction of the audience this often.
I would say 3/4 of Raw last night was apathy from the audience. I could hear moves. When you can hear moves, when I hear Joe go sit down in the middle of a move, you're like, that's because the audience isn't cheering at all. They're just watching this thing and having it go down.
That's really how it felt. You were just watching this episode.
Yeah.
You weren't like actively entertained, I'll be honest with you. I love WWE, but I was just like not active. And there were things I enjoyed, but for the most part, I was not actively entertained throughout this episode.
Well, one of the things I did enjoy, I will say, is the Usos coming out again, having a good, I thought they had a good match with Gallows and Anderson. Anderson and Gallows having that promo ahead of time, that pre-tape promo, talking about how they're going to do this or that. We've seen this before, and they go out and lose. So they went out and lost.
Well, and this was them being, this was the Superstar Shakeup continuing for a third week now.
Third week. That's supposedly.
Third week now. Yeah, I mean, that is absurd. I'm sorry. Like, the fact that you're just throwing out shakeups at the third week later with no regard is a bit silly. However, I will say that I think this plays into a bigger story of them being switched over, and I think you might be right on what you've been talking about. So I'll save that for later. However, I don't like I don't like them randomly being switched over and then losing. Didn't like it. The Usos doing that weird rap thing before the match.
Yeah, that was a little strange.
Very confused.
Is it R-Truth? Is that an R-Truth inspired thing?
It was a mix between like R-Truth and the old like haka dance thing they used to do, right? It was a haka dance. Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah.
When they used to do that back in the day. It reminded me of like a mix between those two things, and it was not good.
No.
I love the Usos, but I don't think they need to have some weird extra dance thing added into their, or extra rap dance thing added into their entrance. The whole thing was that they were like tough, cool guys that are hanging out in smoky boiler rooms and stuff. So I don't feel like this added anything to their act. I do think that, a good match with Gallows and Anderson, always a pleasure to watch on TV. I do believe, though, that the SmackDown tag division has been rocked of talent. Like they definitely. I mean, I was hoping maybe Gallows and Anderson were going to get a push there because it was already a sort of depleted tag division over there, and now it's like super depleted. So I'm interested to see what happens, especially tonight. I think. Because Jeff's supposedly injured. That's been the report out there, that he's dealing with like an injury and they might have to drop the tag titles. So I'm really wondering what's going to happen. And as far as this goes, the most ridiculous part of this, obviously, was what happened afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know.
For those maybe who weren't watching, do you want to tell them?
Like you had the Usos say that they were going to show something that's never been shown on television before, something new, blah blah blah, and all they did was show Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson shaving the back. One of them getting their back shaved. I think it was Wilder getting shaved by Dawson.
No,
right? Dawson
opposite.
gets shaved. Oh yeah, so Dawson getting shaved by Wilder, and they had a camera and everything. And dude, the Revival. I've never always been on the side of the Revival, but God, man. The fact that they're making him do this crap is terrible. And then you get the homophobia that was rampant between their back and forth, which really fucking bothered me. I thought we were past that shit. Cena did that shit. The Rock did that shit. I thought we moved past it, and it's so ridiculous because you can't by one side of your mouth saying, don't be a bully, accept everybody, blah, 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 have these campaigns, and the other side of your mouth have your stars making homophobic jokes or, like quietly homophobic jokes. It's just stupid. It's stupid.
I also feel like
there's other things you can do.
I also feel like it's one thing if like the Usos had been heels and they were doing it. But they're the good guys.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the good guys.
They're the good guys, and they're filming people without their consent in the shower.
Right.
And then kind of like, I mean, yeah, like you said, there's homophobic. There's a homophobic thing on the horizon, on the surface there of what they're saying, and it is a little odd because you go like, this whole thing we're watching is incredibly gay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I love professional wrestling, but it's guys who are oiled and women who are oiled on top, who are covered in oil, rubbing on top of each other for 5 minutes.
And don't tell me that the Usos haven't manscaped themselves.
Don't tell me every wrestler doesn't do that.
Where's your hair under your arms?
I can't tell you how many times I've seen wrestlers putting not seen it personally, but the pictures of them like putting the spray tan on each other. I mean, like, it's a thing. So I don't understand the like making fun of it.
Yeah.
I will say I wasn't like as overtly offended as some people seem to be on social media because I do think at the end of the day, Monday Night Raw is like a soap opera for children, and there are ridiculously stupid things like that have to be brought down to the lowest common denominator to entertain people. There are people who enjoy that, as evidenced by the match that happened later where people were chanting at Scott Dawson, shave your back, which makes no sense because he had already shaved his back. You saw it. So like you have to cater to those people too. I get it. It's like the same thing I was talking about how I didn't enjoy the other segment because it's like the moment of bliss because it caters to a small market. I get a small fraction of people. I get it. I get that. And there are people who do enjoy this kind of potty humor. I'm sure my dad laughed at it. I'm sure there are other people who laughed at it. That's how I look at it. So I get both sides of the coin here. I get doing storylines for the lowest common denominator. However, like you said, I think it's a bit silly to be like, oh, we're pro anti-bullying.
Right,
we're against bullying. However, if it's on TV and you're filming people against their consent naked in the shower, not naked, in their towels in the shower, that's okay. It's because it's for TV. So it is there. It's like, where do you draw the line? Also, that one lady got like in really, really, really big trouble for filming someone in the shower against her consent.
Right.
I think it was a
she
porn
was an
star.
Instagram model or porn star. Right. She got in trouble for filming a 7-year-old lady at an LA Fitness,
something like that. Yeah.
And then she got destroyed on social media for that.
Yes.
So you see something like this, and
those are bad people. So that's the only thing. It's like if you wanted them to get heat, that's one thing. But this was designed to ridicule the revival.
But that's my point, man. The Rock has done this shit. So has Cena and Austin. I don't recall Austin overtly doing it, but I know The Rock and Cena, as faces, have made these attacks on manhood, implying homosexuality is somehow lesser than being a man. Like if you're homosexual, it's less than being a man. There's ways to attack a man's manhood or whatever that does not have to veer into that territory. And you talk about, it's for kids. That's the problem, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're giving kids this mindset as they go to school with other little kids. So if one kid likes a musical or something like that, all of a sudden he's attacked for being less than a man because it's supposedly gay. And that's what I want to destroy out of the WWE, because it does not
filming a kid in the locker room.
Or filming a kid in the locker room, right, exactly. It does not need to be there, and it's super frustrating when you see some people like the Usos who I fucking love doing crap like this. And I wonder, behind the scenes, if all four of them were really uncomfortable with this and did it because they had to, but didn't like it. And
I don't know if you saw the story yesterday, but the report, and I've heard the same thing, that the Revival were offered new contracts recently, and that they haven't signed them. And so
why I wouldn't sign it now after this?
Well, the general consensus is that this is why they're doing that to them. It's because you don't want to stay here? All right, well, let's make you really not want to stay here. And I don't know if that's true, but that seems to be the thought process on the internet. And I don't know if that is true, but it is interesting that it comes out shortly after it comes out that these guys said no to but that they haven't signed new contracts. This happens.
How petty, man. Petty AF. Anyway, all right, let's move on because we could talk about that for a whole hour. But the Miz TV happened here, as Ryan mentioned. Miz TV, another talk show, comes out, does his thing, interviews Bobby Lashley. Lashley, who's looking incredible, but without Leo Rush, which is really weird. And he's not great on the mic. I think he did his best. Bobby Lashley this, Bobby Lashley says this, Bobby Lashley says that, and then eventually he hits that button about Miz's dad. It causes Miz to freak out, jump on top of him. They get into an impromptu match, and then Shane comes out to interfere, and then Bobby gets the victory on a spear, and then Shane does maybe the weakest beatdown I've ever seen in my entire life on the Miz, and knocks him unconscious apparently. So, did you like all of this? Are we? I mean, this storyline.
What do you think?
I hate it. I know you hate it. Yes, go ahead.
I hate the fact that they are continuing with Miz versus Shane.
Yeah.
It makes me so angry. I am so over this storyline. I was gonna compare it to Game of Thrones, but I won't because I have spoilers. But like, I hate it so much. Like, and I was watching this and going like, well, okay, like Miz versus Lashley, like, okay, that's a different thing. You know, trying Miz out as a face for real with someone else now that's not Shane. Okay, you know, I guess, you know. And then it was like, oh, there's, and it almost, it's funny because it reminded me of like the WWE ECW.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Lashley and Miz, that's a very WWE ECW feud 10 years later, but okay, all right. I'm in. I'll give it a shot. And then they bring up George, and I'm like, okay, like, so they're gonna keep talking about Miz's dad as his character, I guess. Whatever. Okay, cool.
They show the picture.
They show the picture. I'm like, okay, I get. I mean, like, I like all the Miz. I like Miz's dad. I think he's a funny character. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna they're gonna use Miz's dad now as a thing. And then Shane got involved, and I was just like, are you kidding me? This isn't ending with Shane. And then later in the show, when he challenged him to steel cage match, and I'm just like, why? And then I realized it's because I was right all along about Miz versus Shane.
What's that?
The only reason they've done this and they've kept this thread going is for Saudi Arabia.
Oh, no.
We're getting closer to the next Saudi Arabia show, and this is the only thread that's been going on since then. They've been continued. They have managed to keep a storyline from Crown Jewel, from this whole Best in the World tournament. They have continued it on for months and months and months on end now. It's because they're going to have a Best in the World match against each other at whatever it's called and whenever happens. Right? It's what I said this whole time.
You're right.
And now we're getting closer to it.
Shane
and I don't know why people aren't angrier about it. But they can't.
It's apathy.
They can't continue a storyline for this long to help build to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They can't do it, but for Saudi Arabia, they'll do it, and they'll stay firm on it for 9 months. It's got to be almost 9 months now.
Oh yeah.
That's how long we've been in this whole storyline with Shane and The Miz.
Yeah, because it was from him convincing Shane to become his tag team partner, to them fighting for getting the titles, then losing the titles, then turning Shane turning on Miz, and now we're in the end game now.
I hope. But when have you ever seen WWE invest
in the 80s?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You've never seen WWE
early 90s,
invest in an arc this long.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah, in the modern era of WWE, this is rare.
Very rare.
You keep it going this long. Do you know what I'm saying?
There has to be a reason for it.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Like Charlotte and Becky have been going for a long time as well.
But even that petered off for a little while.
Exactly.
It has
other people involved.
Yeah. This has just been these two guys in this like 9-month storyline. Right. It's just, and I know people have come in and out similar to Becky and them, but I feel like the Becky and Charlotte thing, like even that one wasn't as dedicated because they had like Charlotte because of the injury, and even then I would say it was like a 4-month thing. How long between SummerSlam and WrestleMania? Or, sorry, Survivor Series. November, December, January, February, March, April. So like 6 months.
6 months. Yeah. It's been going for a bit, but that's way more exciting than this.
Much more exciting and much more deserving of it.
Exactly. And you get Lashley, poor Lashley gets thrown into this situation, a boring feud here going on. Lashley now may be an element of it to carry us for a few more months until we have the Saudi Arabia thing, which will
I also don't need Shane McMahon on every show.
Agreed.
I'm sorry.
Especially if he's going to do this. This is not punching. This doesn't hurt.
I like Shane, but it's like he's already in the middle of a feud with Roman Reigns and Elias on SmackDown. I thought he had transitioned into that. Now he's still on Raw and still doing this Miz thing. It's like, Shane Overload. I like Shane in the Attitude Era, but Shane Overload.
I think that's the best thing you've said about Shane is that we've hit that wall where like it's enough is enough. Like it was great when he was popping up every few months, staying for a few weeks and then rolling away and then coming back because then you get people's desire to see him. But at this point now,
he's not Vince
it's
McMahon.
Way too much. Yeah, right. No one is.
He's not as good. He's not as strong of a heel character as Vince McMahon is.
Right. Vince is so good at it. All right, the Lucha House Party took on the Viking Raiders. The Lucha House Party thought, well, this time we'll attack you from behind and got some shots in, which I kind of appreciated. And there were some shots going back forth the ring. Then the Viking Raiders destroyed them and ended that situation quickly. I like that they, like I said this right a couple weeks ago. Like we need a team that fights back. They finally fought back, but in the end, it still was essentially a squash match.
Yeah, I think it was like a minute and a half.
I mean, like, does this do? Like, this doesn't help you think the Viking Raiders are even more powerful or anything like that.
I mean, Lucha House Party are essentially jobbers at this point.
No, yes,
I shouldn't say jobbers, enhanced talent because people take offense to the word jobber, but they're enhanced talent at this point. And
they're what?
Enhancement talent.
Get the fuck out. Are you a janitor or a custodial engineer? I'm a custodial engineer. Get the fuck out of here.
And so I don't think they gain anything out of it. But like I said last week, I really feel like you need to establish certain parts of a team. And so I do think these segments do establish the team in certain regards, even if it's at the expense of insanely talented people like Grand Metalik and Kalisto.
But we're done now. They're established.
Are they? It's only 2 weeks.
I think they're established because that Viking experience swept social media. So everybody knows who they are, and now they've destroyed people. So give me a tag team they can go after now. Has Heavy Machinery gone over to SmackDown?
They have, but they haven't been on there yet.
That would have been the nice rivalry. Heavy Machinery versus War Raiders again, or Viking Raiders again. I would have liked to have seen that on the roster.
I feel like the Gallows and Anderson would have been a good one too.
Yeah, but they're not heels anymore. I mean, they're heels, so they're not going to be jumping in.
They're kind of, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, it's going to have to be. Well, no, I guess not. I don't know who it's going to be, to be honest with you. Maybe they're just doing this until the Usos, Dash Wilder, and Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins thing figures itself out. And then
my guess is they're going to. My guess is they're going to beat Hawkins and Ryder for the tag titles.
Yes,
and then War Viking Raiders will wrestle like the Revival and the Usos and all those kinds of guys.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be setting up in that way. All right, let's move on. We got another moment of bliss because we haven't had too many. She comes out and announces the female participants in the Money in the Bank. This is what Ryan was referencing. She announces Dana Brooke, Natty, and Naomi comes out feeling the glow. And then there's a fourth person. Oh, nope, it's not Ruby Riott. It's Alexa Bliss. So these four will now bet. Why in the fuck, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, why is not Ruby in this equation? You better have something planned. She must be injured or something because this makes no goddamn sense. These four is boring as hell. I'm sorry. Natty and Dana, no. I'm cool with Alexa and Naomi, but you got to give me, but throw Riott in there, do something. This is a boring foursome in my opinion.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, I would say boring foursome. I really, as much as I like Dana Brooke as a person, she seems like a great person.
As a person,
I don't know how she.
Talk about character.
I don't know how her character was given this opportunity.
Yeah, and I don't know what Natty is talking about, saying like we all want, we all are deserving of. Man, you've had 10, 15 years. You've had opportunities. You're not like sitting in the back not getting opportunities. You've had multiple opportunities. She made it seem as if she's never gotten opportunities, and I was like, come on.
I mean, I'm okay with how you being in the match because I do think having a veteran helps everyone involved, and I feel like it's kind of like when Finlay would be in one of these matches. You're like, okay, he's the one guy who's gonna be the grappler in the match. Yeah. Similar to her, she's going to be the base for a lot of people. So I'm into it. But the Dana Brooke thing, I just went like, how do you not use this time to then put a spotlight on Ruby Riott or Sarah Logan? Now that you've got them all split up, and I don't know if it's because they haven't decided what they want to do with those two yet. If they're waiting for some time to pass after Riot Squad, and then they're going to be reintroduced as like strong singles acts. Yeah, that could be the case. But wouldn't that be? But I feel like this would be the way to do it. You introduce at least one of them here.
This should be a 6-woman tag team. If you throw Riot and Logan in this, you have a fun 6-woman tag team match.
Wait, what?
I mean, a six-woman match for the Money in the Bank.
Okay.
Sorry, not tag, but a 6-woman match.
Well, I do think that it wouldn't. I wouldn't have been against Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan being the other two.
Yes,
but you run the risk of like them still being like, oh, 2 members of the Riot Squad in the match when they haven't firmly established themselves as singles acts yet. It might confuse things a little bit, so I can see that, But put one of them in there.
Yeah, at least
I'm cool with
Ruby.
putting one of them. I don't think Ruby Riott needs some giant character reset. She's going to be Ruby Riott. She's got these tattoos. She doesn't need this massive overhaul of character. Speaking of massive overhaul of characters, ridiculous that Robert Roode wasn't on the show.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
What happened?
They literally set up this big new push for Bobby Roode last week. He beats Ricochet, and then Ricochet gets added to the Money in the Bank match, and Robert Roode is nowhere to be found. That was silly. But back to this, I felt like, I do feel, I hope the women's, the only thing I can guess is that Liv Morgan's going to be in the match on the SmackDown side of things, and they didn't want to have all the members of Riot Squad in a match right away again.
Okay, so you throw in Dana Brooke? I don't get it. Throw. You know she's not going to win. You know she's just cannon fodder for all 3 of the other women in this thing. That's what's frustrating.
Yeah, but you would have been pissed if they threw Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan in there, and they had that purpose in the match.
If they had that purpose in the match, yes. But if they didn't have that purpose in the match, that would be fun to see them come close to winning, see them get some great spots, reestablish their connection with the crowd, especially Sarah Logan. Look, Ruby's cool with the crowd. I think the crowd's into Ruby. Sarah needs some time to get over with the crowd as a singles competitor.
See,
give her this shot.
She's the one that I feel like needs the overhaul a little bit.
Sure.
She needs a couple vignettes of her doing outdoor stuff. She needs I think she needs the most finesse because she's a great talent.
She's young.
But she's young. I feel like she has a lot of character when you hear her talk and stuff like that. I just think she needs to be packaged in the right way if she's going to be a singles talent.
Agreed.
But Ruby is Ruby, like I was saying. Ruby, I don't think you need some massive overhaul of her character. Right. She easily could have fit in there. She's been on Raw every week for the past year.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense than Dana Brooke. However, like I said, I do believe that the reason Dana Brooke is in that position is because she is just there to help. She is just there to help. She's not there to win.
Yeah, no, she's not there to win, and that's what I'm saying. I like a match where you don't know who's going to win.
I agree with that.
And if you threw Ruby in there,
but in every Money in the Bank match, the Money in the Bank match, there's usually 1 or 2 duds in the match that are never going to, like a Kane being in the match.
Who's the dud in the foursome that we announced at the beginning of Raw? There's no dud.
No, but there will be, I bet, on the SmackDown side of things.
Sure, probably true. Fair enough. And I love Alexa and I love Naomi, and it's great to see them getting back in the ring. Then they get into this match, and the match was kind of weirdly lame and missed
what was
spots.
This whole thing?
Missed spots. The whole thing about the shoe, which is I think a call to Tanya Harding complaining about her skates not being right. Therefore, that's why she didn't do well. The way that she was constantly putting it up the ring rope.
Talking about Tanya Harding in 2019 is ridiculous.
Well, look, last year we had that movie, or was it 2 years ago?
I guess it was last year.
Yeah, I think it was last year we had that movie, so, or 2 years ago. So she's still somewhat topical.
Fine.
But it seemed like that was the
you're right.
Right? Because she was putting her foot on the ropes. Yeah, they said on commentary. She put her foot on the ropes like Tanya did to the judges when her laces broke on her skates. So it was sensing that, but Naomi didn't get shine off this win at all. And Corey immediately undercut it. Immediately. This win shouldn't count because she didn't have her shoes. Immediately. So you're not even promoting Naomi in this.
I don't hate, the more you say, I don't hate Alexa Bliss being more Tanya Harding than
Nancy Kerrigan.
Nancy Kerrigan, yeah.
She thinks she's Nancy Kerrigan, but she's really Tanya Harding. That's a fun angle.
That actually is a fun way of playing it. Now that if that's what they're trying to,
if they go that,
if that's what they're trying. But this match was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. I thought they were gonna do a shoeless match for a second.
Yeah. The crowd could give a shit.
Neither could I. I was watching this, just going why am I supposed to care about any of this?
And this is Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss should get people on their feet. And I think the WWE messed up with
Naomi
her.
too. People love Naomi.
Too. Very good point. Naomi too.
And it was it's not the same, but it harkens back to what they used to think of the women, shoeless match or
this,
what is this?
Yeah, the stipulation match.
This?
Yeah,
this is honestly, if it was this and the shaving the back thing, are really what put a sour taste in my mouth on this episode, because I was just like you've got like 20 writers backstage,
Yeah.
And I realize that no matter what those 20 writers present to Vince, Vince is gonna do what Vince wants to do. But if this is the creative effort you're putting forward when those 20 people get out of a meeting, even if it's at 5 in the morning, the meeting, or 3 in the morning, whatever, it's like you guys could have done better than this. I'm sorry. Like, I hate to be a dick, because that is kind of rude to say. I know that it's not easy to write television, but like, we've seen better. We've seen you all do better.
I agree. Agreed. And one of the right things that actually they did better was the Firefly Fun House. I thought this kept going, this weird kind of angle of Bray Wyatt being this pseudo Pee Wee Herman guy and drawing a flaming house, a house on fire rather. Then Witch Abigail the Witch showed up with what was the name of the rabbit?
It's
Rambling Rabbits.
Rambling Rabbit.
Rambling Rabbits. All
I
of
like
this
the Rambling Rabbit was real like dude talky.
Yeah.
Hey dude, what's up, dude?
It was a little weird, that one. And then I thought we'd get a female voice doing Abigail, but it's actually, I think it's him.
It has to be him.
Right? Yeah. So
I almost wonder if he's all the voices now.
Yeah, probably.
Because the one does sound like him, the coffee one does, the Mercy does sound like him.
Yep. I liked it though.
I liked it. The whole sociopath thing made me laugh.
That was very funny.
The word of the day is sociopath.
I like Rambling Rabbit setting him up. It almost sounds like it's the word of the day. It is.
And him, when we first started seeing these vignettes, I mentioned, not with Abigail, but I mentioned with that box that I thought Abigail was going to be involved because there was smoke coming out of the box, and I thought maybe it had something to do with the fire with Randy Orton. And now we see that fire when Randy Orton set the house on fire was it is something that's being factored in here, because that's what he was painting, was that moment when the house burned down and stuff.
And you heard the woman screams.
And you heard the woman screams, and then Abigail was real mad about it and got mad that he was talking about it. So I do. It's just, again, I like that it's layered. I like that it seems like thought was put into it. It wasn't just like for the lowest common denominator. In fact, it feels like the opposite on this one. It feels like they're going for the highest common denominator of someone who wants to like look deeper into little clues and stuff, and that's great.
Agreed. And I hope that when they kind of come to the culmination of this vignettes, it's been him sitting in the room the whole time with puppets on his fingers, and that it's not an actual, it's all in his mind.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
That's the way it goes down.
100% feel this is going to be all in his mind.
Yeah. Oh, he's just been talking.
He's 100%. I've heard it's going to get darker.
Oh, good.
I've heard it's going to get darker.
Good. I wanted to.
That's all I really know is I've heard it's going to get darker, and I'm excited for that, because I think that this one, it wasn't necessarily as dark as the first one, so I hope that they get a little
I don't know.
darker.
Hearing the women screaming as they're getting caught. I hear the woman screaming as she's getting caught on fire in the house. That was pretty scary to hear. True. That was pretty scary to hear. So I think they're like slowly walking into the darkness, and you're feeling it in every one of these things, like how far he's going to go. Especially when he goes, "Just let me inside." You're just like,
wait, go back, scroll up a little bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Can you pull that part up? Because I think I looked away, and Jamie said the same thing to me, and I think I didn't see when he said that.
Yeah.
Did it like change for a second?
It didn't change. His face changed. Yeah.
Okay.
That's scary as fuck. That's scary as hell, man. So that's great stuff.
I also like that because it does kind of feel like each character is a different kind of like incarnation of himself. The first one is the initial Hawaiian shirt wearing Bray Wyatt.
Right.
The second one is much more of like the main roster, Sister Abigail, deeper Bray Wyatt. So I wonder what the bunny represents. But I also like that when he was talking to the bunny, he told the bunny to run when Sister Abigail came, and it was like when he used to say "run" with the Wyatt family thing.
Yeah.
So I like that he did. I also loved when he did the Nacho Libre thing.
That was a nice reference.
Oh,
Take it easy.
That cracked me up because that's one of those references. Honestly, I reference Nacho Libre sometimes, and nobody ever gets it.
You'll listen. That's quietly one of my favorite Jack Black movies.
Great movie.
Yeah. People don't give that movie enough love.
I always say, like, not always, but every time I'm around my girlfriend, I don't think she's seen the movie. I'll be like, hey, send me a piece of that corn. And she never laughs. Makes me laugh every time. But every time I see a piece of corn, I'm like, hey, send me a piece of that corn. She never laughs.
Whenever anyone brings me extra food that I don't want to go, get that corn out of my face. So I love it. Anyway, all right, let's move on to. So it's really the highlight.
Shocking, the two Latino dude that's
right.
liked Nacho Libre and reference it, and nobody else gets it.
Okay, well let's move on to the highlight of the night for me, and that was the Lacey Evans Becky Lynch.
Oh, that was great.
I am 1,000,000% on board now.
Highlight of the show.
Yeah, I was on the fence about Lacey, but Lacey really brought it. Like she kind of showed shades of this last week, but this week understands the moment, understands the opportunity she has here, and she is giving her all, and I love it. And it felt, Ryan, and I don't know if you know this from your connections there, but it felt like there's somewhat real heat between these two, because some of those punches were swinging in like for real. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if people like get mad at Becky or what have you, but there was, Lacey wasn't fighting like an underdog here. Lacey almost like an equal, and I thought I was really surprised by that.
I'm sure it's more to the behest of Vince McMahon of like, hey, you make sure you look like a tough badass out there. You know, you're from the military.
Right.
You know?
Right. She did look strong as hell.
She did. And I really liked her timing.
Yes.
That was some great timing of when she like did her whole talk and then she tore off the part of her dress and just went to town. You're like, yeah, that's a badass woman right there. You know, like I liked all that. And then the whole make me a sandwich, make me a sandwich. Everything about it was great. Love seeing Sanjay Dutt every once in a while on TV now, coming out there to break up fights. But
Finley too.
Yeah, and he has a beard now.
He's got a beard.
I was waiting for him to pull out the shillelagh or whatever it was called. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this segment. I think that it was the toughest Becky Lynch has looked in a while.
Yes.
Because, sometimes I feel like she does demean her opponents a little bit. And in this one, she didn't really demean anyone. She kind of raised Lacey up, and then the additional fight on top of it just kind of like was the icing on the cake.
Yep.
So I believe that it was, this was a really good segment all around. Yeah, I liked it. It was great. It was great. And then not much to say about it because I just think it was really well done all around.
Now I don't know who's going to win.
I'm telling you, I feel like there's a possibility of Lacey winning.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's a possibility. There's a good chance she's going to lose one of the belts. I have a hard time believing that Vince is going to have a traveling champion right now.
Yeah.
I know we've had it for a month or whatever, but I just don't see it being a long-term thing.
Okay. But I like that Becky said that she's got she has no problem defending this. She's not going to hide like Charlotte did. Like this, still getting the shots at Charlotte as she does.
Which is funny because all that does is play into what Charlotte always says of like, because Becky's always like, oh, Charlotte, I'm in Charlotte's head. Charlotte can't get me out of her head or whatever. But then it's always Becky talking about Charlotte.
That's true. That's true.
Maybe Charlotte's the one who's right there in terms of character.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm happy with what Lacey's doing. So we'll see how this goes down. All right, Hawkins and Ryder. They ended up defeating the Revival. That was the next match here by pinfall. You cool with this?
I like that Hawkins and Ryder had new music. I don't know if it was like their old theme or whatever. I like they have their own unique theme. I'm not sure if that's been a thing for a while, but I don't recall them having that song. At the end of the day, I do think that Hawkins and Ryder need to establish themselves as champions if they're gonna have a meaningful tag title match, even if it's just to lose. So I was okay with it.
You don't have them drop it here.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it at all. I mean, if anything, though, it's like back to what I was saying with the Revival of like the rumors or whatever is that like, okay, is that the back shaving and then they lose? I don't know. It's not the best sign of things, but we'll see.
Yeah, it seems so positive. I go back to that picture of the Revival with Becky and Sasha. With Bailey and Sasha, and you're like, oh, these four now, they don't. Damn, that's tough because that seemed to be a moment for all four of them that hey, we've done it through the indies, through the things we've established ourselves, and now we're champions finally.
And it was like boom, a moment for tag team wrestling. Like we care about tag team wrestling, and then Vince was like, "Well, I don't."
Bullshit. All right, Sami Zayn. Second highlight of the night, I think Sami Zayn continuing these incredible promos, and the irony that Sami is talking about self-entitlement in these promos, considering what you've heard about Sami and Kevin Owens and multiple organizations coming in and complaining about what they should be getting and how they should be pushed. Go listen to Jim Cornette talk about Kevin Owens. That is seriously some incredible shoot conversations going on there. But like you hear also, it's a great irony to hear Sami doing all this crap when Sami's the one that's been accused of it at times as well.
I think that's the best wrinkle of his whole new character is that it's almost like he's talking about himself. It feels like almost like he's rebelling against people who have done what he has done.
Yeah, right.
I'm cool with that. I like that. And I agree with you. I think these are all great segments. I am wondering where they're going to go.
Yeah, where does it go?
We've already kind of discussed that a bunch. But regardless, I think that it was one of the highlights of the show, seeing Sami Zayn cut a promo on a 5-year-old that didn't even exist. You know, like that was great. I loved that. That was hilarious. So
and he probably totally sided the figure, and he probably was really nice.
Probably never even happened. It's like when a comedian tells a joke and you're like, tells like a story about a thing they did, and you're like, oh, I can relate to that. And you're like, wait, that didn't actually happen. He just made that whole joke up, didn't he? Shit. You know, so
don't forget the coffee, sweetheart. Is that a real? No, that's not. That's a fake joke. We're not. That really happened. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Sami Zayn's killing it. I loved this segment too. It's one of those ones where I didn't have a lot to say about it because it really was entertaining. And I liked that, you know, even though they did it with the sociopath thing, I liked him having the entitlement, whatever the word it was.
Psychological entitlement.
Yeah, having that on the screen. That was a nice little bonus there.
It was perfect. All right, Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio went at it again. This was kind of a deflating match for me, watching them fight. I was expecting more. We got Dominic some screen time, which I think you mentioned weeks ago that this may be the reason why Rey's come back, kind of put Dominic over a little bit, get him seen by the fans, and maybe wrestle with him in a tag team match. But certainly, this was the most Dominic has been featured since he was a little child.
Well, no, they had this thing a few weeks ago before WrestleMania. That's when we were talking about it. Is they started this angle, but then they stopped
my bad.
because Rey Mysterio got injured and they had him lose in a minute. So I'm very happy that I personally was happy they picked it back up again because I'm waiting to see Dominic get ruined. It's going to be great.
Oh my God.
Also, I am wondering, because everyone is assuming that Dominic's going to get ruined.
Yeah.
I am slightly wondering if they are going to do the opposite and swerve you, and you think that Dominic's gonna get ruined, but Dominic is just like his dad now, where Dominic's got skill and he's gonna fight back against Rey Mysterio. He's a tall dude, he's a tall kid, and so I almost wonder if that's the angle they're gonna go. Is Samoa Joe's gonna start to punk Dominic and Dominic fights back?
I think Dom is gonna turn on Rey.
No way.
Look, we're both Latinos. Sometimes we turn on our dads. And I could see that happen with Dominic going, I'm tired of being a prop. I'm tired of being a part of your storyline. I have my own shoes to blah, blah, blah. And then totally turns and goes with Joe. That'd be brilliant. That would be brilliant. That's how you put him over, and people boo him and hate him, but then like him if he's a really good wrestler. And Rey probably would love to be able to wrestle his son in the ring and put his son over as a face to a heel.
I mean, like, I've never seen Dominic wrestle, so it's hard to say. If Dominic is killing it, and I don't know that he's been like training and I know he's been training, but in those training sessions he's just been blowing everyone away. I'm into that. If he hasn't been and he's still very green, I fear that it becomes too David Flair-esque.
Yes, very good point.
You know, because he's like the rich, entitled son of Rey Mysterio, and obviously, you know, in my opinion, Rey Mysterio is one of the greatest of all time.
Yes, agreed.
So that's why I feel like it's similar to a Ric Flair, David Flair's scenario.
I can see that.
However, I do hope they go the opposite way. I would like to see Rey Mysterio and his son tag for a minute. I think that, like, the people like me and you who remember those, you know, when Dominic was a child on WWE TV,
with his
you go like,
tips,
oh man, with his frosted tips, you go like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm ready I'm into that. You know, he'll come out and he'll have like Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero style pants too, just to kind of like throw back to who may be his dad. We don't know. But that's
great angle. Loved that
classic angle. So I don't know. I hope that before we get an evil Dominic, I would like to see a push, a little thing for Dominic, and but it will also be fun if Samoa Joe just destroys.
Yeah, because it could be it could go the Rocky Maivia route where the fans turn on him because he's supposed to be liked by everybody.
True.
And if he goes heel, then he gets like he kind of avoids that situation. But we'll see.
That's why I really wanted. I mean, that's why my biggest question is, how good is Dominic?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest question. I think that,
find out.
You know, if I recall, Rey said that like. I remember him saying like he wanted to do something. Dominic wants to do like something to continue the Mysterio legacy, but not fully like wearing the mask and everything. So I don't know. We'll see. He's also way too tall to be the next Rey Mysterio.
Yes.
He's like two Rey Mysterios.
Agreed.
So he can't be like Rey Mysterio the third or something like that, or Rey Mysterio Jr. He can't, or El Hijo de Rey Mysterio.
Oh, El Hijo. I like El Hijo.
You can't do that. I don't think he's too big.
Yeah, Jesus, he is big.
El Monstro de Mysterio, So, but I will say, out of everything going on, I am most intrigued by this storyline. I like it. I like the only because I know that Dominic's been training for a few years now. I'm into it. I'm hoping that this leads to something along those lines. But even if it's just Samoa Joe beating up Dominic, I'm into it.
Yeah.
I will say though, I did not love Rey Mysterio winning here.
Yeah, no, I didn't. It made no sense, and it was a terrible win. Like Joe laid, they were late on the timing on that, and Joe just laid there taking the pin.
And his hands were right next to the ropes.
Yeah, he
literally could have. All he had to do was extend his, not even grab the ropes. They just had to be under the ropes. He literally had to slide his hand out.
It was weird. Like
one hand.
Joe was supposed to take the pin, obviously, but he laid there like it was way too long.
He literally could have scooted his head back like an inch, and he would have been under the ropes.
Yeah.
It was a little silly in that regard. I also didn't like it because I feel like with his move over to Raw, I would have liked to have seen him be booked as having. I feel like he's been booked as having more bark than his bite. Like he's been booked as a talker and not someone who backs it up. And I don't want him to fall into the category of like a Bray Wyatt who had to go away for a year to forget all those promised wins that didn't happen. I feel like Samoa Joe should be pushed as a monster, and so losing, I don't know, it's not quite helping his status on Raw.
Like he can win his belt and he can defend his belt, but he seems to lose all the other matches leading up to defending his belt. So that's a little frustrating. And as people who love Samoa Joe, it's a little frustrating because you're not putting him over in the correct way. Who knows?
And before you move, I also liked that. That the United States title was so high up.
Yeah.
That was almost near the end of the show. I want to say the main event, but they had this other thing after with Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. But basically, the main event match of the show. I liked the U.S. title getting treated in that regard, in that respect.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Maybe Dominic Mysterio will be Ramses. Maybe that'll be perfect. It's all a Nacho Libre episode. All right, AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. This was a great 9-minute segment to end the show. Great back and forth between the two. Get that heat going. Each one jabbing at each other's history and past. AJ making reference to the fact that he doesn't have his two buddies running with him. Rollins going after him, going, "This ain't friggin' Smackdown, son. This is a whole nother ball game." All this back and forth, and then AJ pulls the heel move by punching Rollins. But Rollins was doing some heel moves too, putting the belt up in his face, standing. So there was a lot here that you talked about, this idea of who's the face, who's the heel in this battle. The fans, I think, didn't know where to go.
Yeah,
and it was weird to watch the fans be not apathetic, but not know who to cheer or boo, and they just didn't do anything. So it was a great segment, ended with a fantastic.
Why are our dads fighting?
Yeah, basically, great forearm, obviously from AJ.
Maybe the best phenomenal forearm they've had. That through the table looked rad.
That was awesome. And
that looked like the way Seth took it, where he kind of like jumped up to go through the table, looked really cool.
And they looked like they actually hit each other in the head, which, I meant to ask you, like, I wonder how many times they legitimately injure themselves, like
all the time,
stingers, and like get kind of hazy, because that looked like it was a legitimate hit between the two, not knowing how the table was going to react to their bodies hitting it. So I loved this. This was the third highlight of the night for me. Really great back. Now I'm excited for this match because once again, I don't know who's going to win. Yes, Rollins should win since he just got the strap, but you never know. It's AJ Styles. You never know.
Yeah, no, I like this segment. I would say, it was definitely not a negative part of the show. I feel like it was a positive part of the show. Like I said, I do feel like they've rushed into this in the past.
Yes.
So I get it, and the hype is there. It's cool. I just kind of personally feel like it's like they rushed into a huge match. So that is the only problem I still have while watching it. But they both made up for it. I mean, like you said, they both held their own, good jabs at each other, entertaining. The phenomenal forearm looked awesome.
Yeah.
I think you might be onto something though with the whole club thing though. Is the fact that he made reference to Seth Rollins not having a crew anymore, and that same night his crew got brought to Raw, does say something to me. It does make me think that maybe they are going to lean into that a little bit, especially with the rumors that the club is unhappy and wants to leave Gallows and Anderson. If their contract is coming up soon, I could see them giving them a renewed push with AJ Styles. Even in that promo you mentioned. During the Gallows and Anderson match, they said they referenced being bulletproof or something like that. Yep. That makes me think that maybe there's something going on here, that there's a bigger picture, that they are going to kind of put the club together and have AJ Styles do a surprise win and win the Universe title.
That's certainly possible. I remember, a few days ago, I'm on the WWE.com mailing list because I buy shirts. They promoted the Bullet Club shirt a few days ago and said, "Hey, be a member of the club." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wait a minute. So I
when do I get emails like that?
Yeah. They do randomly promote things, but it's never something
like that. Yeah, no.
I had it, so I thought that was interesting. And who knows? Maybe that's kind of a little bit of foreshadowing what's going to happen. We'll see. Maybe Rollins loses it. So now So what does Rollins do? Does he go and recruit a new Shield, a new crew? I don't know. We'll see. But I like the fact that I don't know, because AJ is so beloved by the WWE that it could go either way, and they could play with this storyline even more so.
Yeah, as much as I think that they were pumped on Seth Rollins and gave him this big push after Brock, it wouldn't shock me to see him lose the title. Yeah. It really wouldn't, especially if they do a club reunion type thing where they help. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be fun to see. All right, well, that's our Raw recap from last night. Hope you enjoyed it. Always appreciate the comments you send us on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Always fun to read those things. Ryan, tell them where they can follow and read everything you do.
ProWrestlingSheet.com. That's the website. That's where you can read all the top stories throughout the week. YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. That's where you can find all the videos that we do here at Pro Wrestling Sheet. The Raw and SmackDown recaps that I do with Roka. You can find Wrestling Sheet Radio that I do with Jamie Iovine and Elijah Bates. You can find them all on the YouTube channel. YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. While you're there, please like the video. Please subscribe. Please comment. I read them all. Do all those things. It's a big help to me. It's a big help to everyone at Wrestling Sheet and Collider. So make sure you guys do that. It helps me out a lot. Also, if you only want to listen to the audio of these shows, check out our podcast feed. It's on Podcast One. It's on Spotify. It's on iTunes. All the biggest podcast platforms. Just search Wrestling Sheet Radio.
Boom. There you go. And you can follow Ryan at Ryan Satin. Follow me at The Roka Says. And of course, as I said, tweet at us about your thoughts about what you thought about what happened last night, what you think might be happening at SmackDown tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with a SmackDown Live recap here on the Pro Wrestling Sheet. Till then, take care.
ProWrestlingSheet.com